Yeah. This is a podcast of Nathan, Nat and Shaun.
Let's go.
Hi, everybody.
G'day,
Hi,
g'day.
everyone.
On the show today, we meet a coffee aficionado and then talk to other aficionados. Some people have real fields of interest.
It was really interesting.
Was it, Shaun?
Yeah, I enjoyed it,
That'd be a
actually.
field of interest, wouldn't
Yes.
it? We're going to talk about life before technology. That's right. Come with us, young people, and let us tell you what it was like back in the day.
We have a chat to Stevie Butler, brings in a bit of sporting action.
Yeah, nice.
Yeah. What you can't yell out at Prince Andrew, and what you can't leave at Buckingham Palace right now. We find that out too.
This is Nathan, Nat and Shaun.
Coffee, it's big business.
I'm drinking one now.
Huge business. There's something like 23 coffee shops just in Dunsborough. I was speaking to someone the other
Wow.
day.
Yeah.
It's amazing, isn't
It's a
it?
tiny place.
Now, I'm not a coffee drinker. I drink tea. And Natalie, you love a good cup
I'm
of coffee.
drinking one now. It's delicious.
Would you ever think about
Long
paying
black.
$100 for a cup of coffee?
No.
But what if it was the best cup of coffee you've ever tasted?
I mean, I do like coffee, but it's more about... Yeah, it's more about just getting the buzz rather than $100 for a cup.
Would you go to $10 for a coffee?
I mean, if they told me this is the greatest coffee you'll ever taste, maybe $10.
Well, I never knew about the International Q grading program that certifies professionals such as quality controllers, roasters, buyers, and exporters. And basically, it's about how great your coffee is, and therefore what you'll be charging for coffee. And $100 cup of coffee is on offer at Nu Noir, which is, we've got Alex, who is the owner, with us right now. Hey, Alex.
Good morning.
Hey,
Good morning, Alex.
This is super interesting when I was reading about this. So can you tell us what makes the $100 cup of coffee $100 and so good?
Well, it's quite simple. If you mentioned before the Q graders, they give a coffee evaluation based on the defects that are found in the beans. So the more defects, the more points that you lose.
Yeah.
The less defects, it's just enhances the clarity of the flavours of the coffee, of the origin, where it's from, and the properties that are within the coffee. Inside the cafe, we've got a flavour wheel,
Yeah.
which basically tells you all the flavours that you can taste in coffee, which will vary from tropical stone fruits, lemon, orange, strawberry, prune, raisin.
So it's not like wine in that sense,
Yeah, it
really,
seems
isn't
that
it?
way, doesn't it?
Yeah, pretty much the same.
Yeah.
So the higher the clarity in the coffee, the more these flavours are palatable, and you can really identify them. So if you've ever picked up a bag of coffee and read, orange, chocolate, almond, and then you've tasted it and it's got nothing of that, it's probably because it's got a lot of defects in there and it's not recognisable. The higher the grade, the more prominent and dominant those flavours are. But they're flavours that it will be the best cherry you've tasted. It will be the clarity
it's like the best
of that
best.
is it's amazing. And when you start to get to the real high end of coffee, it's like a custard like texture. Just if you've ever had those sort of Portuguese tarts, that sort of custard egg.
Yeah, serious? In coffee?
It is a total different experience from what you're having every day in your sort of commodity cup of coffee.
Wow.
What's the grading for the cup of coffee, the $100 cup of coffee? Because I've read that no coffee has ever received a 100-point grade.
No.
So
I think, off memory, I think the highest is 96.5.
Yeah,
right.
The one that we sold was a 93.25.
7? Oh, damn. That would have been good, wouldn't
So
it?
close. I feel a collab coming on. Where are the beans coming from, Alex? Where are the best coffee beans
So
coming?
that particular one, at the moment, we seem to be getting a lot of the coffees have been in the past years from Panama, best of Panama.
Yep.
That was the set that we had.
Yep.
But just recently, last year in the World Barista Titles, been from Colombia, New Genodes, which is a different species of coffee, has just blown everybody away for its intensity and beauty. And that's actually sold out for the next 3 years.
Bit of white powder mixed into that one, is there, Alex? It's got to be careful there.
Keeps you up all night, keeps you up for 3 days.
Not sure what you're talking about.
Me neither. Hey, Alex, to be a black belt in coffee as you are, speaking to you now, it's unbelievable your knowledge. How many years do you, courses all the time to be able to bring you up to this level?
Look, I'd love to take all the credit, but I've got calling a friend is an understatement. His name's Ramon.
Yep.
He's my coffee brother, partner.
Yep.
Guru.
Aficionado.
He's just on another level, right?
Yeah, so he's your sensei.
Yeah, pretty much. He's my sensei with keeping the Cobra Kai theme.
By the way, new season's out now, Cobra Kai. Amazing. Anyway, keep going.
Watched it already.
Me
Get
too.
to the ending if you want.
I knocked off episode 10 yesterday, Alex. So many karate fights happening at once. Anyway, we digress.
Ramon for me has been an inspiration just because his passion to continuously reinvent himself in coffee. He's made me a coffee that knocked my eyebrows in the back of my head.
It's the one from Colombia again.
I want this coffee.
Yeah.
This
So
is
he
amazing.
Cobra Kai'd him right in the face. Alex, I was reading about the coffee nerds that come into your shop, and they're the ones that will usually order the $100 cup of coffee, and they go around Perth for cupping tasting events.
Yes.
So,
Sorry, Nathan, can you say that again?
Cupping,
Yes.
tasting events. Tell us about that.
Ooh.
Well, cupping is generally held when you're assessing coffees to buy,
Yes.
and it's a good little exercise to just taste different coffees, and obviously price points are pretty. Is the blocking point to everything. So it's hard to give everybody an espresso. It's going to cost you an arm and a leg. When you do cupping, it's a small amount of coffee. Everybody has a sip.
Oh, so it's like a tasting paddle.
No.
Yeah.
But it's only a teaspoon of a small amount of
So
coffee.
it's tasting.
It's like the challenge.
Because Shaun asked me to cup him all the time,
Yes,
but his
it's a
pants come
different
down.
story.
It's weird.
Hey, Alex.
Isn't that the same thing?
The $100 coffee, do people then go, can you put almond milk in that? Is that a major sin? Like, what would
sounds
happen?
like
Look, if that's what they like, our job is to make them the best coffee.
No.
that
The
they
$100 cup
want.
comes with unicorn milk.
Tough to
We're actually doing we got the coffee that won the Australian Barista Championship.
Yeah.
It's called a Colombian Sidra.
There we go again.
And Ramon has experimented like the World Barista Champion of last year and has done a frozen distilled milk.
Oh.
And it just takes it to another level again.
Great stuff.
You're really kissing the gods on the lips.
Yeah, you line that one up and snort it, don't you, Shaun was saying?
It's just a rumour. Hey, Alex, can I ask you, just before I let you go, when was the last time you had a instant coffee like a Moccona or
A Nescafe?
Nescafe?
He wouldn't.
We'll never admit to that.
Deny.
What he does in the darkness of his own room
that's
after
lovely.
binging Cobra Kai.
The last time I had something like that would have been, I think I was at a trade show.
Yeah.
Yeah?
And there was like the new U-Butte capsule coffee. I won't mention any name.
Yeah.
And took one sip and just said, okay.
And
then
then did that
Go,
spit
thank
take
you.
Yeah,
in
exactly.
someone's face. Everyone, that is Alex, owner of Nu Noir. You should go and check it out in Mount Hawthorn.
Really enjoyed the chat,
Love your
Alex.
passion, Alex.
Yeah,
it's
loved
just,
it.
so beautiful.
Would love to have you guys come in for a coffee.
Yes,
done.
yes.
It'd be great.
Exactly. I had the $100 one.
So
And
isn't that...
mix it with the Colombian one will be great, thanks.
How good is exploring our amazing backyard again?
And ticking off all the Aussie big things. Pineapples, bananas, melons.
Oh, that's making me hungry.
Head to whatif.com and start planning your big Aussie adventure.
What if it's Aussie for travel?
We spoke to Alex, the owner of Nu Noir, a cafe in Mount Hawthorn. He is a coffee aficionado. It's extraordinary, the wealth of his knowledge. It's like
It's
a
so
guru.
interesting, wasn't
and
it?
he's like, no, Ramon is the one that knows everything.
Yeah,
He's
wow.
the sensei. It's amazing, isn't it?
During the last season season of Beauty and the Geek, when that train driver was on there, I asked my dad about train driving, and oh my God, I've never seen his little face light up so much. He doesn't know too much about anything, but he knows about trains.
He's an aficionado.
Oh my God, he was telling me about every bloody model of train that there is out there, and what trains go over the Nullarbor, and what they run on, and what the rules are, and he's been on TV shows over in Japan driving a train. Dad's been featured.
It's a
He's
dad
waited
thing,
all
I
these
reckon.
years.
It's a dad thing.
Because my dad is like that with military aircraft. So he will watch a war movie and go, no, they didn't bring that plane in until 1942.
Love that.
And this is supposed to be 1937. Like he's literally
Really?
that. Yeah.
Yep.
Oh,
I
no,
like
the
that.
Germans never flew that. He'll go, it's unbelievable.
And
Unbelievable.
my Uncle Bill, who lives in Sydney, who I don't see too much, so I don't really spend much time with him. We were over there on a trip the last time we were there, and Uncle Bill, he works in the construction industry, but with really big cables for bridges and stuff like
Yep.
that. The whole day,
He just talks about bridge
he
cables.
talked to me about cables. He'd point out cables, tell me what that cable's for, tell me about the rules of cables. You
never asked a cable question,
I never
did you?
once asked a cable question, Natalie. And
You must love Cable Beach.
So we are talking about the things that people are experts in.
Annette, hello.
Hello.
Hi, Annette.
Hi, Annette.
Have you got an aficionado in your life?
My kids, they're older now, but when they were in school, they went to school in the Swan Valley, but we lived in Beckenham. So their trip to school and back required several trains and buses.
Yeah.
And they were aficionados of Transperth school buses.
Oh, like the
Okay.
timetables and everything?
No, the actual buses themselves.
The actual
They had
buses.
So the ones
Yeah,
with the
they had
piano
a-
accordion in them?
Yeah, so they knew each
Well-
model, each make.
Yeah, they had a grading system. They were new, newish new, oldish new, newish old, oldish old, or old.
Oldish
I
old.
love it, Annette. Oldish
You don't
old.
want the old
Newish
or the
new.
oldish old.
Newish old.
You
No,
want-
you don't want the old. You want the new,
newish new,
or newish new
Yeah.
if in a pinch. Yeah,
Okay, that is
yeah.
so cute. Because Annette, we actually had bus spotters. We did a show
Yes.
where we were driving around the streets of Perth, right? And we'd just rock up to people's houses years and years
Yeah.
ago. And that was on Adams coach lines.
Yes.
Yeah.
And
Yep.
when we were out there to get on the bus at Adams, there was several people that have rocked up there to have a look at the buses.
They didn't care that we were there.
They didn't care.
No,
they
no,
were
no.
there to see
No.
us. They were there to see the buses.
And it was quite amazing. They're like, oh, yeah, that's a Mercedes, blah, blah.
And then
I was-
Adam and Adam from Adams was like, "Yeah, with this we get bus spotters
It's-
out here
it's a
all
thing.
the time.
It's amazing.
and they
That's
know
amazing.
more about buses than he does, and he owns all the buses."
Probably one of your kids, Annette. Thank you. Michelle is in Mindarie. Hello.
Hi guys.
Hi,
Michelle.
Michelle.
Who's the aficionado, Michelle?
It's my husband. He's going to kill me for ringing it.
Great.
It's my husband. He is obsessed with pizza dough.
Okay, so how does he break it down?
All right, so we have lots of conversations about the consistency of the dough, the amount of yeast, the temperature of the dough, the feel of the dough. It gets fermented. We've got the 72-hour ferment. We've got the 42. We've got the 24-hour. I said to him the other day, I have never in my life would have guessed I would have had so many conversations about pizza dough.
That is so funny.
Okay, does he make a good dough?
Oh my God, yes, he's nailed it. The amount of YouTube hours in researching, he is absolutely on the nailed the pizza dough recipes.
Can you taste, Michelle, because you've been put through the ringer with all this stuff,
Yeah.
can you
I have.
oh, this is the one that's been over 24
Yes.
hours versus the 72-hour one?
Look, if he was listening, I'd say, oh, absolutely, but probably no. I can say, oh, this one's crunchy,
Yes.
and he'll be, oh yeah, that's because I use stronger flour. So
Right.
we've got flour obsession. We shop for flour everywhere. Our cupboards are full of flour. We've got seriously like 20 litres.
And do you have the wood-fired oven? Do you go all out? Or is it
Oh,
just...
yeah.
of
He
course.
went,
Sorry.
he's got, of course he does.
Of course.
No,
That's a weird
And
seriously.
is it wood-fired or is it
question,
gas?
It is gas because he believes it's a more even temperature.
Yeah,
so you
well,
can
that's true, but it's
control
not
it better.
authentic, is it?
Oh, you'll have to argue with him for that one.
God, we used to go
I
and get
would
our
never.
pizza dough from Theo
Yes.
Calagarakis
Yes.
because he had Little Caesars
Yes.
pizzeria
Theo
and Theo
and
and
Co.
Co. And
Yeah.
his pizza dough was amazing. But I think that was more so for the fact that we were getting it for free and didn't have to make it.
Yeah, that's right. But not having
I think
to
that
make
had
it
a lot to
yourself
do with
is
it.
definitely
No, they're
the
beautiful
way to
pizzas.
The Nathan, Nat and Sean podcast.
There's a cafe in Mount Hawthorn called Nu Noir. Means new black.
Yep.
And
Does
the
it?
owner, they sell $100 coffees, and the owner spoke to us about everything to do with coffee. And you can tell
amazing,
that
Alex.
he is a true aficionado.
But he doesn't think he's an aficionado because he's got another guy that he works with who
knows
knows
more.
more. We are finding out what your loved one is an expert in. Hi, Caitlin.
Hello.
Hi,
Caitlin.
Caitlin. Is this
Caitlin.
you or is this a loved one, Caitlin?
It's my father-in-law.
Yes,
Father-in-law.
okay. What's he
All
an aficionado in?
So he loves trains. So since I think for most of his life he's been obsessed with trains, and he lives in the UK, but he kind of builds these big model trains that are actually working trains.
Yeah.
I think last time we went over, he was kind of talking about his trains. He's got his workshop for the trains. He's part of a model club. He has a car that carries his trains.
How big, Caitlin, are you talking about? Because can you actually get in them, stand in them?
Yeah, so they've got a model club, and they're sort of coal fueled, and you sit in the trains and ride around the tracks on them. So they're
Like a child's ride?
Yeah, so they're like a miniature train, not a model train.
Oh,
yeah.
okay. Sorry,
Right.
sorry.
Yeah.
You know what? I know that because we've gone to a guy's garage here
Yes.
in Perth that's had this amazing model train set up.
He did.
But now I understand that
It's
his
level.
grown men are riding around in them.
Yeah, shoveling coal into
That's
their
taken it a bit to the Royal Show, hasn't
train.
it?
Oh, Caitlin.
Is one of them called Thomas?
Is he capable of having a conversation that's not about trains, Caitlin?
Yeah, he does. He's an engineer, so he does. He talks about
Caitlin,
lots of things, but
Caitlin,
he loves the train.
maybe we should get him to FaceTime my dad, who used to be a train driver.
That's right. They'd have a lot to talk about.
Ah, of course.
Yes.
There you
He'd
go.
love that. Every
Oh.
time he
He'd love
comes to
that.
Australia, he wants to look at the train.
Oh, of course, first thing to do.
Next time he's in
Caitlin.
Australia, let
We'll
us
set him
know
up.
and we'll set him and Brian
It'll
up
be the
for a
world's
man
worst
date.
Tinder date. Thanks, Caitlin. Troy's in Applecross. Hello.
Hey, g'day. How you going?
Hey,
Good,
Troy.
One of my mates, he travels all around the world with F1 cars. Now,
Yeah.
he knows everything about that, but that's not the funny thing. He travels all around the world and he rates every McDonald's shop in the world. So
Every
he goes
Macca's.
into-
I mean, they are
Every
internationally
Macca's.
different.
I mean, Italian, when he went over there for F1 Italian one,
Yep.
it's got bad haircut. It's like a bad haircut because the lettuce is hanging out. He rates every single McDonald's in the world. And if you go on his Facebook, it's hilarious because he gives them a rating out of 5 about the quality of the service, the quality of a burger. He knows everything about burgers right around the world.
So,
I do
Troy,
like this.
is he celebrating? So, when I went to Hong Kong, right, they did a teriyaki chicken,
Yes.
which was
Yeah,
amazing.
he did that one.
Yeah,
Yeah, he's done that one.
so does he explore the different things on the menus?
absolutely.
Okay, so I thought
Okay.
it was maybe just trying a
Just,
Big
burger.
yeah,
Mac.
just rating the
No.
Big
Everywhere.
Mac. Yeah,
No.
as the great
Yep.
constant. Yeah.
He rates on everything, the quality, the service, the taste of it, the
What-
meat quality. But
what's his Facebook?
Everything. Graham M. Money. So you go Graham,
Yep.
then M. Money.
Graham
And,
and
he-
Money.
He does F1 travelling all around the world with all the race goers, and he does that for a travel agency, and he rates all
That's his
the
job.
Rates McDonald's.
That's his job, Troy.
That's his job.
And his love for McDonald's is just a hobby.
That's
It's a
his job.
lifestyle.
Sounds like
What a puzzle.
What a horrendous job, too.
I know. Thanks, Troy.
No worries.
Let's finish off with Jade from Baldivis. Hello.
Hi, how are you?
Hey, good Jay.
Who's the aficionado in your life, Jade?
My dad.
And what does he know everything about?
He Hot Wheels cars.
Oh, Hot Wheels.
The dinkies.
Literally toy
Hey.
cars.
Yep, he collects them. He used to have a huge collection, but he started selling it off. He had over 6,000 cars.
Oh,
6,000.
But
Wow.
he knows everything about them. He knows all the ones that, like, it's the same car, but they're specials. They have different wheels. He used to go to the shops with his list, and he would pick through the racks And he'd go, I've got that one, I need this one. But he just knows everything about them.
Hey, Jade, has he told you everything about them?
Yes, and he has now passed that on to my son, who now loves Hot Wheels.
Oh, well, I guess as a kid you do, but then at some stage you move on.
I know, that's right, you grow up. Don't
Hey,
you?
Jade, do you know offhand what your dad's prized possession in that Hot Wheels collection?
No, I wouldn't, but he definitely would have his favourite.
But would it be worth a lot of money?
Yeah.
Like thousands?
Yeah, probably. The collection itself, like what they buy them for to what you can sell them for is ridiculous.
6,000 cars. Imagine the insurance on that.
So when I say thousands, would it be 5,000 or less than 5,000?
Probably not per car, but like if he was to sell his whole collection before, I think it was like over 12,000, maybe $14,000.
So we've just pulled some up right now. There's like say that
individual
go back
one
up
was
the
10.
Top. Here we go.
12,
So this is there's a 1968 Hot Pink Beat Nick Bandit Hong Kong edition, $15,000. I'm sorry, a toy car should not be more expensive than a real car.
And that's not even in the box or anything.
25.
40.
Right there. What's this one?
We're counting down.
Oh, that's diamond encrusted, so that's ridiculous.
140,000.
140. What's number one? What's the number one most? This is a pink rear-loading beach bomb. So it's a combi van with two surfboards sticking out of it. $150,000. There was only two of them produced in 1969.
Yep.
Oh my! Are you kidding me? Now look at us. You know what? I was going to say your dad's silly, but now I
he's
think
not.
well, he is the best. Is that a DeLorean? No, a Tesla Cybertruck. $50,000
Signed
by
Elon Musk, presumably. Yeah. Terrible signature.
Jeez, mate.
Thanks for that, Jade.
Yeah,
You've
I'd
really
be
opened
angry.
our eyes.
Someone scribbled on my expensive
Yeah, exactly.
toy.
Nathan, Nat, and Shaun.
Well, there seems to be a lot more information about the Queen coming our way. Oh my gosh!
There's
you
a
cannot
wrap-around
turn on
every single day
free-to-air
in the
You
paper.
cannot turn on free-to-air TV.
Well, they've got it covered.
Yeah.
Well and truly.
Yeah.
Far out.
Yeah.
They're making stuff
There's
up
no
now.
angle left.
Yes. So yesterday was all about the hearse making its way to Edinburgh.
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
And how it had the sticker of the name on it, and then they took it off.
Left Balmoral. William Purves, funeral directors, had the audacity to put their sticker.
Well,
right
I think
on
the
the
sticker
front
was
of
on
the-
there. They would have it on there.
Well, yeah, but
Normally, yes. So it would be on the car normally, and nobody had
don't
taken
know.
it off. And then halfway through the trip, they took it off.
I think it was just a very good advertising
bad
opportunity, to be honest, because they took it off pretty quickly.
Either way, they would have been.
afterwards.
Hang about.
Hang on a
Yeah,
minute.
you can't.
Yeah. 'cause
And
it
it's
was-
right in front of the coffin too. But
Yeah.
that's where they put it. When you see funeral cars, that's where they put it.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But we found out yesterday as well why the coffin was driven around the streets, that you are not allowed to yell out stuff to the royal family. This is a heckler in Scotland who, for some reason, has taken issue with Prince Andrew and what he's
Why?
been up to.
Why would you take issue
lately.
with Prince Andrew? He's perfect.
Here he is. Bastard.
Well, he's not wrong.
And that's him getting arrested and pushed by protesters.
I've done nothing wrong.
It was a statement of fact.
I mean, you
He's
know,
put it out there.
he couldn't be more correct. Maybe it's not the
Time
right
and
setting
place.
to yell it, but he couldn't be more correct.
That is brilliant. I really enjoyed that.
Yeah.
And usually, after someone of note passes away, there's an issue with the amount of flowers that's being collected around these areas.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah,
what
you
happens
know.
with it all?
Well,
Everyone's
usually
laying
a
wreaths
lot
and
of flowers.
Yep.
They'll come through and they'll hand them out to hospitals and all that sort of stuff. But the issue isn't flowers right now at Buckingham Palace.
Bigger
it's
issue.
something else, and this is BBC Breakfast telling us about it.
I just want to bring you a little bit of advice that's come from the Royal Parks this morning. They are suggesting that there are enough Paddingtons and marmalade sandwiches in the parks at the moment. So please feel free to bring flowers, but maybe don't bring any more Paddingtons or marmalade sandwiches for now.
Paddington Bears.
Yes.
Is that the most politest, loveliest UK announcement? Couldn't be more British.
That is amazing.
Because that's referencing the skit she did at the end of the Olympics where,
Paddington Bear,
she had a marmalade
yeah.
sandwich in her bag for later, which is adorable. But, don't imagine the ants and everything.
Oh, my God. Yeah,
and
rats and
they
stuff.
want to compost all the flowers and scatter them on the parks. And so...
what we're saying as well, marmalade sandwiches, that would bring more bears.
Yes.
I've done nothing wrong.
You're listening to Nathan, Nat, and Shaun.
The Amazing Race. I'm watching it. I'm trying to concentrate, but it's not really grabbing my attention at the moment.
You've always said you're a big fan of Bo Ryan.
He wasn't. He wasn't on it last night. He had COVID.
He's doing his crosses from a hotel room.
Yeah.
He's got COVID at the moment. 2 of the other 10's been knocked out with COVID too.
But they didn't. They let them stay in the race.
Yeah.
How's that?
Yeah.
Oh,
No, so
they come back later.
when they get better,
Yeah.
So
they'll
they'll
head back into the
rejoin.
race. So anyway, so I cannot even tell you where
I
they were
enjoy
last
watching
night.
it for the
Seeing where they are.
Yeah, that's right. I think
Yeah.
Turkey.
Yeah.
How were they able to shut down streets and stuff? Were they on like
don't
the 10
shut down
skateboards
streets.
or
They
something
don't.
yesterday?
No, they're just running through there, and the poor locals are like, who
Yeah,
the
we'll
hell
go
are these
again.
idiots?
Okay, fair call.
Yeah, so maybe they're in Turkey. I'm not too sure. But they were trying to get somewhere yesterday. They're all being given their cars and been told to get onto the roads, which is dangerous for both them and the locals.
Yes.
But it was something that did make me laugh with one team when they were struggling with directions.
In 500 metres, stay in the left-hand lane.
I don't know how people did it, like, before our generations that didn't have phones and used maps to get everywhere.
No, we used the stars.
We did. Just a compass.
So remember, it was at the UBD?
UBD, no.
yeah.
The UBD.
Yeah.
You would like...
had a book of street maps.
If you were rich, you'd get the UBD, a
Yeah.
new edition every year.
Yeah.
But most of us would have a UBD that was 8 years old. And then suddenly we'd
Whole
be
new
looking...
suburbs weren't in
And
it.
you'd have to like look up the place in the back and then, like Beachborough. And then,
Yeah.
Then
The
they give you the
index.
page number
Yeah.
and then they give you the, like C12.
coordinates. Yep.
And then you'd have to like find it. And then
And then
it was
map
a
your own
newly-
route.
And then,
Yep.
then it was... Yeah, and then like you'd have to go, okay, so I'm going from page... And then you work your way back.
Yes.
Going from page 16 to thing. So you're driving while flicking through a book. And
Yeah,
seeing
it's
where
amazing.
you're going.
So all those new suburbs had like a light road perhaps
Yes.
put in, but there was
Yeah.
no
Oh,
other.
it looked like it
turn-offs
was
or
put in
something.
with pencil.
It did.
And the areas on the outer of Perth or towns and stuff like that, with new developments that are happening, if your UBD was a little bit too old, you'd hit a point where suddenly there was new streets and your book didn't tell you. So you were stuffed. And you couldn't, like...
And sometimes when you go, I want to go from there to there, and you go, oh, okay, so you'd think that they would be sequential maps. But no, every now and then they just chuck in one that was like, 40 pages further down. And you go, like, how does that even work?
I love talking about this stuff. One of the great things is, so the iPhone came about in 2007. That's kind of when everything picked up and you were able to start getting about.
It was all in
that.
the palm of your
But
hand.
before then, you made a comment this morning about if you said you were going to I'm going to meet Harry at the pub later on at this time,
That
you
was
had
it.
to be there.
That was set in stone. There was no way to change plans. So if you'd arranged to meet somebody, you had to stick to it. Because there's no way of contacting them saying you're not coming or you're running late.
Yeah.
You just had to turn up.
so much easier that way.
Yeah, it was, wasn't it?
And think about while you're in your car nowadays as well. I mean, you've got your radio, which of course you're all listening to. Thanks a lot. But also, you can now play Spotify or you can have your music from your phone put on there. And I just remember back to that bus trip that we went from Kalgoorlie to Perth and we were in the bus and then a tape got stuck in the cassette player. It was Everything I do it for you. And we had to listen to it and we couldn't turn it off. And so we had to listen to it for the entire time there and the entire time back. And it was a Cat single.
How many times did you cry?
So there was this and then plus a B song of his. Imagine what the B song was.
Was that your wedding song, Shaun?
One of them. Was it that one?
And the other one was the opera singer, wasn't there an opera singer? A Botticelli or something? Was it another one?
No.
Or was it?
Well,
I don't know.
I know it was
invited,
before the time. Was it Anthony Caleo?
got me again.
The prayer.
You know me too well.
Nathan, Nat and Shaun in podcast form.
A team on Amazing Race. So we're just baffled by how anybody survived before there were sat-nav, essentially.
Yep.
What we had to navigate with maps.
It reminds me
Yes, we
of
did.
Yes, we
when
did.
we were doing, studies for school. And nowadays, I mean, we all Google.
Yes.
And we've got all the information on our screen. But back in the day, we would have to go to the library. And then you went into the library.
That's so true.
You just prayed the book you wanted was there. Because if it wasn't, then you didn't have it. And then if you found some books that you wanted, you could only get an X amount out.
Yeah.
So what that would mean was you'd have to take a whole 2 pockets full of 10-cent pieces or 20-cent pieces of some libraries, and you'd have to photocopy.
Yeah.
photocopy.
And so you'd be like spending $10 on photocopies to take the information with you?
We had a set of out-of-date encyclopedias, so we were set for some slightly out-of-date information. So an encyclopedia, kids, is a book that had information and you had to look it up alphabetically.
So you got
Some families that had the encyclopedias in their houses, a lot of the times they couldn't afford the whole volume, so they just had A to K. They had the end of the alphabet.
We are talking about times before technology. Natasha, hello.
Hi, how you going?
Good, Natasha.
What do you remember, BT?
I was literally talking about this with my kids just the other day, and I was talking about how we used to get music because we didn't just have Spotify.
Yeah.
My son was like, well, how else did you get music? And I said, well, we used to have to listen to the radio, and with our tape deck recorder, we'd have to press record and play at the same time.
Yes.
And wait for the song and wait for the person to stop talking so you could just get your song. But we lived in the country, so we didn't get a lot of good songs. So we used to have to wait for our rich friends to buy a cassette. And then we'd all go around to the one house and we'd all sit around and all record it off their one device. But then I thought I was really proud of myself. And he's like, but what's a cassette tape, Mum?
Exactly.
Oh, my God.
Tash, I remember
have to go all the way back to what a cassette tape is.
Yeah.
Oh, my God.
It was so cool having cassette tape. And obviously we always used to do this. And I remember Mum and Dad went to Bali one year and they came back with all the cassette tapes and this whole box. And then everyone can come over my house, all of anything you can think of. And then everyone can come over my house and then, borrow one. Or, mate, it was a big deal then.
That is so funny, Tash, this whole cassette tape thing, because you were enraged when a person on the radio would speak over the song.
Yes.
Just the rage you would feel. I remember we used to do this exact thing with the Triple J Hottest 100.
Yes.
you get up early and you get ready to make your Triple J Hottest 100 tape.
Yes, and don't forget Casey Kasem's American Top 40.
Yeah.
I mean, that was all the good stuff. Thanks, Tash. Trevor's in Rockingham. Hello.
Hi, good morning, Nat. How are you?
Good, Trev. Okay, what do you remember from before technology?
I remember when I was a little sucker growing up, my gran used to keep everyone's phone numbers in a little notepad. So anytime she needed to call any of her friends, she used to look up their names alphabetically.
Yeah, we had the same thing.
That's how I learned the alphabet, was from my mum's address book, and I had it had a separate thing for Mick, and so I had 27 letters in my alphabet when I was about 4, when I was teaching myself from the address book.
Oh, yes.
I remember, and I bet you Nan's book, did it have like that foiled edge? You know, the book on the side, you look at it and be like all foiled, like a Nana thing? Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely, yeah. And if you lose that book, you literally lose your friends.
That's it. There's no other way of contacting them. My mum had a birthday book as well, which was like the Bible of everybody we knew's birthday was in that birthday book.
But the value of those things, and getting back to Trev, the address book with the phone numbers in, you eventually knew,
you would remember
people's
actual phone numbers.
Yes, all the time.
Not anymore. Yeah. Can barely remember my own.
The Calgary phone number was 218480. That was it.
This is a podcast of Nathan, Nat and Shaun.
We're just remembering the good old days when we had nothing and no technology.
No. These days when you're taking photos, you look at them on the phone, you delete the ones you don't like. Back in the day, you never knew what your photos were going to turn out.
You'd have to wait a week.
You would wait possibly 2 weeks and pay up to $30 for 24 photos. And then when you get some of them back, you realise the lens cap was on,
or your
they're
thumb
all
was
blurry,
all over them.
all the photos are crap, and your money's gone down the gurgler.
Even when you went out, when we got older and we went out clubbing or whatever, we used to take an actual camera to record the night.
Yeah, absolutely.
An actual camera, and they were about, the photos were about 4 megabytes, so just blurry and awful.
A girl that I went to uni with, she should not have been given the responsibility of doing a family member's wedding, and she took all the photographs of that, and it was back in the day of film and all that sort of stuff, and she did not, and she got really drunk. She used to get drunk all the time, and she got trashed, and she did not get one good picture for their entire wedding, and she was the only person taking photos.
That was a trap, wasn't it? Here's Lauren. Hello.
Hi, how you going?
Hi, Lauren. Right, we're remembering times before technology. What have you got for us, Lauren?
So I worked in real estate. I still do. And one of my first jobs was receptionist. And when I placed the ads
into the Sunday Times or the West Australian for houses for sale.
Yep.
I would then have to go and get the paper that following weekend, cut out the ads and stick them in a book. Then every month we would get the invoice from the West Australian or the Sunday Times, and we would have to count the lines. And if it was a bold heading, we would have to charge it an extra couple of dollars if it was colour or a photograph. And if you didn't add up at the end of the month, then you had to go back and read down all the ads all over again.
Oh, that's fun.
What an excruciating job.
Book.
What is the 2022 version of that job now?
Well, we don't put things in newspapers anymore.
Listing on real estate.
I know, isn't that so funny?
Click of a button and it's all there.
There we go.
Well, I mean, remember the Sunday Times Readers Month? That's how you bought second-hand things.
That's right.
And now it's just like Marketplace and Gumtree.
Oh, gosh. Look how far we've come. Let's go to Janet in Lansdale. Hi, Janet.
Hi, how are you?
Good,
Hi, Janet.
Back in the day,
I'm gonna
before
like this
technology, Janet, talk to us.
Okay, my kids cannot believe that you couldn't get petrol at any petrol station when we were younger. You had to get it within a certain hours. They were open.
Yeah.
If not, when you arrived at the petrol station and it was closed, they would have a sign up saying where the closest petrol station was.
Oh, that's right. Roster. Which petrol station was on roster?
Yeah, particularly on the weekends as well.
Yeah.
Oh, Janet, yeah.
Or otherwise, you could look up sometimes in the newspaper. They would list the closest one open, if you were lucky enough to have a newspaper. But kids don't realise these days how hard we had.
Things weren't open all the time.
Janet, one of the good thing about the petrol stations that are crazy to think, people would come out. It's not self-service. They'd
pump
come out and pump your petrol.
I used to be able to. You used to get told off for touching the pump.
There was no self-serve wasn't a thing.
I remember the first time that I ever got to do it. It was the biggest thrill of my life. Isn't it amazing that we used to have to wait to be told when we could do things?
Yes,
like petrol.
Yeah,
it always brings me back. And this isn't a technology thing, but you used to only be able to get crumpets in winter. Isn't that amazing? We can get crumpets all the time now. Crumpets were a winter thing. You would be, oh my God, how exciting.
Nathan, Nat and Shaun podcast.
Time to catch up with our good friend Stevie Butler. Writes all the fantastic articles for the West Australian. Come on in, Stephen.
Hello, dudes. How are we?
We're wonderful.
Steve.
Hey, mate.
Just walking around the grounds of the Palmyra Primary School. What a time to be do
they know you're there? Hey, Stephen, what happened yesterday? We catch up every Monday, and apparently you were too busy.
Well, I was actually wandering a very different few hallways yesterday. I was wandering up through the hallways of Royal Perth Hospital. Had to do a few interviews up there yesterday. So, yeah. It's a very interesting place.
Okay,
yeah,
so non-sporting interviews?
No, it's non-sporting, but you'll see the results in a couple of weeks' time, and it's a really interesting place, RPH, I reckon. I mean, you sit there and you're watching the people get wheeled in all sorts of forms of distress, but the doctors are so...
Yes.
And the nurses, they're so connected, and their communication seems so good. It's a really interesting place to
in a facility that seems like it's out of One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest, doesn't it? Like the surrounds are extraordinary, but the staff are amazing.
Oh, the staff are incredible, and the facility, to hold up as long as it has too.
Yeah.
But yeah, the staff are just amazing there. So I think you'd have great confidence if you ever had need to go there.
It's pretty good for people watching too. You just always pray, javelin through the neck, javelin through the neck, javelin through the neck.
Careful what you wish
can't get them in the door.
Try and inch him in.
Maybe try him sideways.
Now, Stephen, on the footy side of things, there's 4 teams left in the AFL. Brisbane had a great win the other day. Can they beat Geelong at the G? Everyone's saying no.
No.
Okay, next.
Well, they get Joe Danaher back, you would presume.
That doesn't help, though, does it?
Does his wife actually have the baby? I haven't actually seen that yet.
I don't know.
No, I haven't seen it either. He pulled himself out of the game just the other day because his wife was in labour or was going to give birth.
Maybe he went prematurely.
Yeah.
Stop it.
What do you think, Nathan?
Stop
it. So it'd be interesting if they get him back, but because he does structure them up a little bit better. But look, I think Geelong's footy now, I was convinced that Melbourne's footy was the best, but clearly they weren't going at their best, and they were a bit sore and they looked a bit tired to me. So I think the next best is Geelong's. I think the wild card is Sydney because of the way that they can apply the manic pressure. They get more numbers to the contest than any other team going around, and that gives them an X factor to the final series, I reckon. So we'll have a look at that. But I'm really convinced that it's going to be the Sydney Geelong Grand Final.
I just think Collingwood's run might come to an end of those close games, and they've fought so hard. But I think Sydney's footy is better, and I think Geelong's footy is better than Brisbane. So that's the way I think. And look, I think a Sydney-Geelong grand final would be epic. I think it'd be just so manic. It'd be crazy.
Yeah. Shaun still thinks the Dockers have a chance.
Yep.
So,
Joey
well,
Danaher,
they got the javelin in the neck, didn't they?
That's right. Joey Danaher arrived with minutes to spare before his baby was born on Friday night. A little girl.
Oh, well done.
So you'd
done,
presume he would be father-daughter rule coming up. You would presume that he would probably be back then. So that'll be interesting for them. But Fremantle are in a really interesting space, aren't they? I mean, they've achieved so well this year. I think everyone would be proud of what they achieved, and deservedly so. I think Justin Longmuir has done an amazing job, him and his coaching team, with that group of players. But it's a spotlight now on where they go next. I mean, I was really dirty, as you know, about Adam Terror deciding to go back home when the time was wrong for him.
Yep.
Unlike Chris Judd, he stayed and won a premiership, and then he decided to go, and Adam decided to pull the plug early, and I thought that was really disappointing by him. And I love the way Fremantle actually turned it around and went to build their list. And I really hope now that if a few players go, they keep that way, because I don't think you need to be selling the farm for a Luke Jackson or those sorts of things. But it just depends on what you lose. You know, they're in the window of actually trying to win a premiership, and I don't really understand at all why those players want to leave. And I mean, it's obviously about money and securing their future, but at the same time, they've got right in front of them what they actually play for, and that's the chance to win a premiership. And you'd have to say that with the demographic of their list and the age, that they're right in the window of actually trying to win one next year.
Yeah, Steve, I mentioned this to the guys early this morning, that if those guys leave, and there's a couple of them are certainly going to be out the door, and you bring in another young player and maybe a couple through the draft, then your team becomes younger and less experienced, and when the whips are cracking and injuries come about, you need to rely on those mid-20-year-olds and certainly experienced players who've clocked up to be able to take
like
you
we've
through.
seen with Rioli, sometimes money talks.
Yeah,
I get that.
So
Dave, I get that.
like the promise of a premiership might be one thing, but yet,
you're still getting paid if you don't win a premiership.
Yeah, someone else is coming at your bank account. Like, I mean, one of the names being thrown around is Griffin Logue. Our Griffin Logue,
linked to
Steve,
North Melbourne.
What do you think?
Well, I don't think Fremantle under Ross Lyon handled Griffin Logue very well in the early days. I think he should have been a better player. And I think he's an absolute star who they must keep. But they may not. But I wouldn't blame him if he went. To be honest, in terms of him, I think they've thrown him around all over the place. And he's a very good player, Griffin Logue. And I just wish he'd been developed a little bit better in a standard position, because I think he can really play. He's got the great sporting DNA heritage from the Andrew Vlogs.
Do you put him up back or down or up the front?
I'd
play him back.
Yeah.
But the issue is, as you know, Steve,
he would be an absolute star.
They play Brendan Cox as first choice centre half back, and then they play Alex Pearce as the tall defender, and then you go, okay,
it squeezes him out, doesn't it?
Yeah, you got Luke Ryan as the next guy in, and so then all of a sudden the balance is the way. So
that's right forward where he's not a natural player.
But the thing is, so let's say that he decides to move on because he'd rather play there and he's not first choice.
Yep.
Then any number of those guys get injured, which happens in every single team. We saw with the West Coast Eagles. And then you're gone.
But if you're him, you don't want to be waiting in the wings for someone to get hurt.
No, there's a lot to play out.
And that's what he's doing. And that's what he's doing. And they put him in a position where he's not natural. And he still competes like an absolute machine, but he's not natural there. So, look, any other club would want him as their backman. So I would think there would be lots of overtures to him, and I wouldn't be surprised if he goes, but it would be sad for Fremantle. And as you say, Shaun, it impinges on their depth, and depth is what wins premierships.
The interesting thing with Luke Jackson is he's looked like he's destined to come to the Fremantle Dockers, and you're going to give up 2 first-round draft picks. And I think when you look at you're just a number, right? So number 9 and number 17 for one of better returns. But if you actually put faces to those people, so for example, would you give up Caleb Sarong and Heath Chapman for Luke Jackson? Everyone in the world would say that's just crazy. You wouldn't, because you can see the people.
What about for Samuel Jackson?
He's getting
as long as you put the L in there.
Snakes and planes. It didn't do it for me. He slid right down
Samuel Jackson.
You want him on your flight in case there are snakes on the plane, don't you?
There's so many positives that fly so often.
Look, I think Luke Jackson is. I do want to say from my comments earlier, I think Luke Jackson is going to be a very good player for a long period of time. I think people are underrating him a little bit at the moment because he hasn't probably performed at his best the last few weeks, but he will be a good player for any club for a long period of time. So he would definitely add something to the Dockers if that's the way they go. But you've just got to be careful how you manage your list. And I think that's been the actual beauty of them the last 2 or 3 years, that they've managed their list so well and with such calmness and balance.
All right, Steve, as usual, just a ray.
So much wisdom.
He says it like it is, doesn't he?
That's what he does, and he certainly backed up on the Luke Jackson stuff just in case he had to interview him later on the next couple of weeks.
That's right. That's right.
Well, the funny thing is, they do the blinder interviews now where you actually call a number and they pick up the phone.
Yes.
And I was doing an interview 2 years ago with Liam Henry, and I picked up the phone, and I got 3 minutes into the interview when we sort of both said, I think we got the wrong number here, and it was actually Luke Jackson. I was talking to Luke Jackson for about 3 minutes before I realised it wasn't Liam Henry.
I mean, you can't pick them apart, to be honest.
I know, they're so similar.
Yeah, that's right. Good idea, Steve. Thanks, mate.
Steve.
Have a great week, guys.
You too.
Nathan, Nat and Shaun is a Nova podcast. For more great comedy shows like this, head to novapodcasts.com.au.